Okay, check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So both of your presentation mentioned saturation diving.
Okay, so Richard, great presentation on adaptive teaching and adaptive diving. What's the biggest barrier for bringing the ideas that you got, which are awesome ideas about bringing adaptive teaching into the diving space?
Uh, I think the biggest barriers are the training agencies. They've established a view of adaptive teaching.
Yeah.
They've got their own experts. They don't want to move because it would mean change, and therefore they're actually resistant to moving forward. The people who are their gurus, if you like, adaptive teaching, actually think they know better than the other guru who's working for another agency, and they're the twins you'll meet.
Okay. So it was an interesting piece of people, it's that bit of, so why do training agencies do adaptive teaching? Because then that's the bit, I'm getting to is the financial side of it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, organisations like Handicap Student Association didn't start off in a world where it was about making money, doing work for disabled people. But what big agencies realise, there's a little niche in the market here where we can get more people through the doors, not just as students, as part of this is how much you get as an instructor's fee. So let's run lots of adaptive instructors courses, lots of adaptive buddy courses, and let's get more money in. And I think the big driver has been for the big agencies has been income generation rather than actually doing something altruistic.
And the challenge then is, if you're going to get your instructor base to be able to teach this, there's an investment required both on the agency side to develop useful materials, credible materials, and then also the instructors to learn that and then go out. And also the client base, if they, you talk about a 3-year program, that's not what most people want. They just want a quick and dirty, let's go diving.
No, I think last night we were talking about the practicalities of adaptive teaching. I gave you the example of Dive Crew, where they've invested in having all their instructional team forged as adaptive instructors and dive masters, and yet over a 10-year period with this immensely experienced team, they've only had 3 people with life-changing injuries or illnesses actually want to come on courses. So
there's not really a commercial model for it. It's an altruistic model, and that's not, as Mark's just described, one of the strategies for a successful business.
Well, I was saying to Mark last night, if he was running SDR and I was going to Mark to actually make a business case for adaptive teaching, I couldn't make a business case whatsoever. It would either be you do it because it's altruistic, or you do it because you actually get a few more people for money in the pot.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Richard. It's really cool.
Right,
now your question.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mark, yes. You talked a lot about, you and I talked a lot about psychological safety. You see that as being a big thing. Very much. It was touched on, in my presentation. It was touched on by Mark in his presentation. How do you actually think you can make instructors and dive teams more aware of psychological safety?
So start off with, actually, you touched on this in terms of the adaptive teaching is a common definition. So psychological safety is this shared belief within a team that it's okay to say something that, question the status quo. And that starts with the leadership of the team. And in a training environment, that's the instructor. Or in an instructor development program, that's the instructor trainer or the course director. And it's them recognizing and demonstrating their fallibility and their vulnerability, which doesn't come across really easily in the diving space because we hold these instructors on pedestals of excellence. I'm hiring you as my instructor to teach me something. I expect you to know everything about what's going on. Actually, you don't. You can't know everything. And that sort of ties in nicely with your adaptive teaching is it needs to be bespoke. So the first bit then is instructor trainers just talk about, I don't know everything. Here's the mistakes I've made. Oh, and once you start talking about your vulnerabilities, then you're more likely to get other people to be vulnerable and ask questions and make mistakes and talk about those mistakes. So the agencies, I perceive them as the guardians of knowledge or the gatekeepers of knowledge. it's very difficult to create change outside of outside of the diving system. So you have to create that change inside the training system. But that means you've got to move away from a formulaic approach, which works. You can scale that really easily to one that is more bespoke and focused. And that's got a commercial imperative as well, commercial barriers.
So, what do you think of the impact if I was an open water dive going on open water? What do you think the impact on me might be if I felt I was in an environment that wasn't psychologically safe?
Oh, there's loads of examples of that. Of a student sitting there going, or even a graduate, and you're working at on a dive boat, and the guide's there or the instructor's there. You sit there going, I'm not sure about this. I can't fail. I can't make a mistake. I'm expected to know this. And so they potentially get themselves wound up before they get in the water, or they get in the water with a known problem because they feel they can't ask that question. And the problem is when that happens, an event occurs, people talk about it and go, you should have spoken up. We need to be able to speak up. Anybody can thumb a dive at any time for any reason. My view is that only happens if there's a belief that I'm going to lose my life or get serious injury, and that might be too late. Because we don't have the culture that allows us to share those stories, we don't know it's a problem, and so we end up with this sort of self-reinforcing cycle.
Yeah. Cheers, Gareth.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That helps. Cool.
Enjoy the rest of the jobs.
Thank you.